Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 3 of a 53-part series of tutorials in System Analysis and Design course. In this presentation, we are going to be looking at the elements or components of a system. My name is Meme JM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. Now, this subtopic is under the topic Understand System Analysis and Design Fundamentals, which is the first topic in this course. And therefore, we are going to look at elements or components of a system. So what are elements or components of a system? These are the interrelated parts that work together to collect, process, store, and distribute information to support decision-making and control in an organization. A system is thus composed of several essential elements that collectively work together to enable it to function effectively. These are the input, the process, the storage, the control, the output, the feedback, and environment. What is input? Input refers to the data or raw facts and figures being entered into the system. It can also sound as input. Input meaning to enter, to key in data into the system for processing. In an information system, inputs may include forms, transactions, scanned documents, and electronic data entries provided by the users or other systems. It entails the activity of gathering and capturing raw data from internal or external sources and entering them, which is said to be inputting. And therefore, inputting is a process of entering data into the system for processing or also for storage. What about the process? Now, it can be, or it can sound as process or process. So, process is the transformation of raw data into useful information. It consists of activities that transform input into meaningful output, such as calculations, sorting, analysis, validation, classification, and summarization. What about storage? Storage. This is the process of maintaining and holding data for current or later retrieval. The data entered is stored in a memory location, either temporarily for current use or permanently for future use. Control. Control is a decision-making element that guides the system and governs the pattern of activities to ensure it meets its objectives. So this also includes the procedures and the rules, as well as mechanisms that regulate system operations. These include authentication, authorization, validation checks, audit trails, and approved procedural or procedures designed to ensure security, accuracy, and compliance. We also have output. Output. Note, there's output and there's output. So, what is output? Output or output is the production of the processed information, usually in the form of reports, documents, or dashboards for the user. It can also be defined as the information or products produced by the system. Examples include reports, transcripts, certificates, class lists, payment receipts, and statistical summaries in an education setup. What about the feedback? This is the process of providing the system with information in relation to the output generated so that corrective action can be taken and to ensure that there is continuous improvement of the system. It can also be defined as the information from the system used to evaluate its performance and make necessary adjustments to input or processing. The feedback provides information about system performance and errors. It enables corrective action and a continuous improvement by allowing the system to adjust its operations when deviations occur. Environment. It is also called the system context or context boundary. It entails the elements that influence the system but cannot be controlled by it. They help define the situation in which a system operates, identifying the external entities, systems, and the constraints that interact with it. They help separate the system being developed, that is target system, from its surrounding, determining what is within the project's scope of control and what is not. It includes all external factors that influence the system, such as laws, government regulations, institutional policies, users, technology, economic conditions, infrastructure, amongst others. That is, external entities. So in other words, these form the external environment, the external entities or actors, external systems, business processes, events, and constraints. Therefore, systems must continuously adapt to changes in the environment to remain relevant and effective. Notice that systems must continuously adapt to changes in the environment to remain relevant and effective. This is very key because if a system does not give out output that the environment can consume, then the purpose of that system existing is not met, is defeated. And therefore, a system should always ensure that it is adapting to changes in the environment so that it can remain relevant and effective, and so that it can continue delivering the required services to the concerned, or so that it can give out the required output and also get the required data. Together, these elements form a continuous cycle that can be illustrated as follows. So you can see through this diagram, there's a diagram of a system. You can see this system is making use of input. And this is raw data, which can be in the form of forms, transactions, transaction documents, etc. Now, from the input, data or raw facts are entered into the system where they are processed. And we have said that process is the act of validating, calculating, sorting, analyzing. In other words, converting the raw facts from being raw to being processed. And this is done, the inputting, the processing, including the output, are all controlled. So the processor does some control. And these controls include the rules, the validations, the security, the authorization, the audit trails. All those are meant to ensure that each of the components perform their work as required and in the way required and for the time required. And therefore, we can also see the processed data, that is the information, can be stored in a storage device in form of files in memory, or what they are called in the database. Then from there, the output can be generated, which can be in the form of reports, certifications, dashboards, receipts, amongst others, that can be used by the users. Now, based on the output gotten, the user may require some further processing or certain corrections to be made. And therefore, whatever is found, if errors are found in the output, the user gives back some feedback which can be fed into a system either as input, or the feedback can be taken directly to the process through some further processing without the need to enter or key in new information or new data or new raw facts. So that's how our system works. And you can see all these operations are within an environment. So we have seen that there are factors which determine how this system or how the rest of the components will work. And therefore, it's very important, even as an analyst, you also ensure that you don't just come up with the systems for the sake. You have to think about the rules and regulations that exist, the legislations that exist that govern whatever you want your system to do, what the law says concerning what you are doing and how you should do it, etc. That is the work of environment. For this system to function effectively, the following resources, that is physical and logistical building blocks, normally referred to as structural components, are required. Number one, you require the hardware. 2, the software. 3, the people. And 4, the network or telecommunications. So when we speak about hardware, we are talking about the physical and tangible equipment or physical, tangible, and electronic components of our system, which includes the computers, the servers, the storage devices, input, output peripherals. These are the devices that you are going to require. The system we are speaking about, the information system, cannot exist without some hardware. So it has to exist somewhere in a computer, etc. Number 2 is software. Now, these are the intangible sets of instructions or set of programs that will tell the hardware what to do and how to do it. So whatever the system does, it's supposed to be guided accurately. And what guides? A software. Then we have the people. These are the ones who give the instructions to the computer, to the system on what is supposed to be done. They are the ones who key in the data. They are the ones who come up even with the system itself. So these are the liveware that use or operate the system. They are the critical elements because they are the ones that determine what the rest of the elements will do and how they will do it, including making use of the output from the system. They include the end users, system analysts, and administrators who operate and manage the system. Then we have the networks or telecommunications. You can call them the interconnections. These provide interconnection or linkage between the various components, thus allowing the data, instructions, or information to flow through the various components, including provision of information to end users, regardless of their physical location. It is the infrastructure that allows different components to connect and share data. The following table summarizes these elements, including a description and a real example from our Emily Swap school system. So we have the input. This is the data or resources entering the system. An example for our system is student admission forms, biodata, examination marks. We have the process, that is operations that transform input. They include validation, grading, report generation. We have the output, that is the results produced by the system. They include ID cards, transcripts, management reports, etc. Then control. These are the rules and the mechanisms that regulate how the system will work or the operations. Examples include passwords, validation rules, audit logs for security. We have the feedback. So information that is gotten out is also fed back. So information used for adjustment and improvement. That's what is feedback. The information used for adjustment and improvement. Example are the error reports that are generated by the system, the user complaints, and performance metrics. We have environment. These are the external factors affecting the system, and they can include the internet services that are provided by external bodies, the laws by the government, the suppliers, market conditions, amongst others. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 3 of the series. You can proceed to part 4 of the series, in which you are going to learn about classification and types of information systems. Congratulations for learning part 3 of chapter 3 on elements of our system in Perform System Analysis and Design course. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 4 of the series, and God bless.